I'll sing of all you've done. Death is swallowed up forever by the fury of your love. You stepped into my Egypt. You took me by the hand. You marched me out in freedom into the promised land. Now I will not forget you, God. I'll sing of all you've done. Death is swallowed up forever by the fury of your love. You're the God who fights for me, Lord of every victory. Hallelujah, hallelujah. You have torn apart the sea. You have led me through the deep. Hallelujah, hallelujah. 'Cause you stepped into my Egypt. You took me by the hand. You marched me out in freedom into the promised land. Now I will not forget you, God. I'll sing of all you've done. Death is swallowed up forever by the fury of your love.
So 2 weeks ago at summer camp, we looked at the life of Moses and a couple things we can learn from it. We looked at how Moses didn't plan on the life that God had in store for him, and he taught us that usually our plans aren't the same as God's plan. We also looked at the 10 plagues that God brought on Egypt. That taught us that God works in ways that we might not expect. And then we looked at when God allowed Moses to part the Red Sea, and that taught us that we still have to follow God's plan as it unfolds in front of us. But today I want to talk about what happens after the parting of the Red Sea. Right after we hear about how God delivers the Israelites out of the hand of the Egyptians, we get to hear the songs and praise from the Israelites. Exodus 15:17-18 says, "You will bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Lord, which you have made for your own dwelling. The sanctuary, O Lord, which your hands have established. The Lord shall reign forever and ever." So here we get to see the joy of the Israelites because God delivered them. Then we see God provide for them through bread from heaven, manna, where God provides for them every single day when they wake up. We see God work through Moses on their way to the promised land. He sends water gushing out of a rock. But we also see that the timing of the Israelites in the desert is one that is interesting. Because at first it seems like they're on a direct route to the promised land, but as we see the story play out, it becomes a lot less direct than they thought. In Numbers, we learn about a story where God asked the Israelites to take over land, and we see that God sends in 12 spies and they come back with a report. And the majority of the spies say that they should not take over the land because the people in it are stronger than they are. They fail to account for the fact that they have God on their side and they have God providing for them. And in the following events, we see that the Israelites are sent to wander the desert for the next 40 years because they did not have the faith to carry out God's command. But what I want you to learn from this is that they were sent out in the desert for 40 years, but God provided for them every single day. This was God reminding them that He was there, He would provide, and that He is all-powerful. But the big lesson that I want you to take away from this today is that, yes, we know that God's plan might not be our plan. Yes, we know that God works in ways we do not foresee, but I want you to also know that God's timing might not be our timing. And just like that, I'm sure that the Israelites did not want to spend 40 years wandering in the desert, in the wilderness. You probably hate the drawn-out seasons of your life where you feel like you're waiting for what's next and you don't know what's around the corner. And it sounds a lot like the season that we're currently in, and it's driving me insane. But I want you to know one thing. God is trying to work in you through this time. And maybe you don't see God literally providing for you like the Israelites got to see each morning. But I challenge you to use this time of our own wandering to see that God's timing often doesn't match up with the timing that we want. But that doesn't change the fact that God provides, that God cares, that God redeems. The only thing that changes during our times of waiting is our own patience for God to work in our lives. And oftentimes, we aren't patient enough.